our fourth or fifth live. Tell me where you're from in the chat and give us a little bit about where you are in your group fitness journey. So are you just thinking about getting certified? Have you gotten certified, passed the test? Were you teaching before this whole craziness? How long? Give me some of that, and we'll get started in about 60 seconds. Thanks, Liz, for the good. That means we're good. We're live. All right, while we are waiting for you guys to join in and you're typing in the comments, like I mentioned, where you're from, where you are on your journey, we've got Robin Dyer, who is live with us, and Julie Guttormson. Oh my gosh, if I just, did I do it? Okay, Robin gave me a phonetics lesson. I've known Julie forever, but I've never tried to pronounce your last name because I don't want to screw it up. Julie is with us as well, and we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. I'm sure you guys can all relate since this COVID crisis and everyone having to lean into technology. Some days it works better than others. So Julie is on via phone and she keeps getting dropped, but we're going to keep bringing her back on because I'm really excited for you guys to meet these two ladies and talk with them. So as we're getting started, my name's Shannon Fable. I live in Boulder, been around for about 25 years. And I'm so fortunate to have this platform that ACE sponsors at the ACE Group Fit page. And since this COVID crazy pause we've been in, we have taken to the airwaves on Mondays with various people, interviewing them on lots of different subjects. And we took a stand really in the beginning to not so much talk about the keystrokes, as I call them, like what to do or what not to do, how to teach better to camera. Like we're tackling that in a million different places online right now. We decided that we wanted to take care of you, the professional, and allow this to be a great time of self-reflection and growth, whether that be personally or professionally or both. So we've been talking to lots of different people, as I mentioned, about stress, anxiety, resilience, how to cue better. And today I get to talk to two of my dear friends, my Schwinn sisters, Robin Dyer and Julie Guttormson, like I mentioned. And like I said, today is, the subject is about being positive, 3 ways to be positive. But I want it also to be as much a conversation about career paths. And because a lot of you are just getting started in this industry. And you may not know that there are a million different places you could go. And I'm sure Robin and Julie will echo like when they started out as teachers and where they are now as studio owners and master trainers for Schwinn Indoor Cycling. They may not have known that any of these options were available for them. So I want to spend some time talking about that too. But first, while we're getting set up, I want to turn it over to Robin. Let her introduce herself. She's in Conway, Arkansas. Her studio is Burn Studio. But give us your life story in 2 minutes or less, how you ended up being a studio owner. How's that? Can you do it?
No pressure at all. I do want to say this is like a true honor. In fact, just to like start out my story, if you would have told me that I would be sitting here with Shannon, getting interviewed by her when I started out on my fitness journey, I would have never believed you in a million years. So it's a true honor. I've looked up to Shannon for 20 years now. So basically for me, I graduated college with a marketing degree and thought I wanted to sell things for a living, and got into pharmaceutical sales on the veterinary side, which was a lot of fun. But I quickly realized that that was not the reason and I was 23 years old at the time. That was 1999. I realized that was not what I was supposed to be doing. And so, of course, I didn't do a very good job because I didn't love it. And I knew it wasn't for me. So that ended about a year later, and I made my way. I had a 1-year-old daughter at the time, and I decided I could work out with my free time. And I'd take her to the kids' care, and I just started going every day. And I'd never picked up a weight. I'd done step classes and things like that in college and high school, but never to the level of what group fitness was. Cycling had just kind of become bigger at our gym. And that was Conway Regional Health and Fitness Center, which is kind of my home, and it's where I got my start. And so within like a week, I was like, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to do. And I figured out how to take an AFA group test. And I told my husband, it's only $200. This is what I'm doing. And he's like, $200 for real? And he's like, I don't know. I don't see it. And I fell in love with group fitness. And that was 20 years ago. And started out teaching step, which is wasn't my strongest. And of course, cycling became my next love. And that is where it just kind of blossomed from there. And I started going to fitness conferences, and that's when I met Shannon and so many other of my mentors that I've looked up to. The Schwinn team, Doris Thews, Amy Dixon, the list goes on and on. Jay, Jules, all of the fitness royalty in the industry, I started to fall in love with. And I was just like, I want to be just like them. And so that's what I've spent the last 20 years doing. And I still do it. I still listen. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to start doing that too. I'm going to say that too. So, and then master training happened I worked at the gym for about 13 years. And then I decided it was time for me to do something for me. And I felt like it was time to fly. And so I opened Burn Studio 7 years ago. It'll be 7 years this fall. And
Wow.
yeah, and that's when I joined the Schwinn team, because I had obviously been stalking the Schwinn team for like years and was like trying to be in the front row of everything, because I just wanted to be just like you. So, so then Jules brought me onto the Schwinn team 7 years ago, and then here I am now. Love it.
That's crazy. I mean, I obviously known you from fitness conferences for a very long time, and I want to change the word stalk though, because there are a lot of you guys on the phone that are thinking, okay, so or on Facebook Live, like, okay, that's what I got to do. I got to sit in the front row and stalk. And I would not characterize what you did as stalking, because there are definitely some stalkers out there. And then there are people like you who identify very quickly, I see myself in that person, and I want to find out more about what they've done and how they've gotten where they are, and learn about the different pathways or the different ways that you can end up where we were at the moment, if that makes any sense. And so, like I said, I don't think it was stalking. You always had very good questions. You were always extremely respectful of our time when you had those questions. But we could always tell when you had the questions, it was because you wanted to become better. You just weren't fan geeking out or fangirling out, right? Which I thought was really cool. And I do have to say, I will share my personal favorite memory with Robin, Alex McLean, who I don't know if you're on here. He usually jumps in on these lives. He just had a birthday last week or a couple weeks ago. These two were in the back of a session of mine at Ideal World, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago. And if you guys remember when Apple moved the music to the cloud, anyone remember this debacle? I get a little sick to my stomach when I think about this time. But everyone was having problems with their playlists in cycling, because you literally would turn on your music and your songs would be gone. It's worse than when you turn it on and it's accidentally on shuffle. Like that you can figure out and fix very, very quickly. This was like you would turn it on and be gone. So long story short, I had woken up like 4 o'clock in the morning, because my session was at like 7:30, and I had played the playlist over and over and over. I'm like, okay, it's good. We're good. We're good. We're good. And I get into the session and the first song didn't work. And I was like, well, that was weird. Didn't think much of it. Got to the end. It's like a 9-minute remix of Whitney Houston. There is no faking if you don't have this song. And the song was gone. Poof, up into the cloud. And I am sitting up on stage, like in such a panic mode, because literally, like, I mean, it may have been an 11-minute version of the song. I don't know, but it was so perfectly timed. It was intervals. And these two, Alex and Robin, had my playlist in the back, because we always gave out our class design sheets. And they were in the back frantically downloading it on their phone to save my life. And I'll never forget, Alex came up onto the stage and is holding his phone here. I'm plugging it in and playing, looking down at the screen. So anyway, huge thank you. I owe you so much for saving my ass. I think I retired the next year, because I was like, I can't handle the stress anymore. It's too painful.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. So thank you. And I've been to Conway, haven't I? I've been
Yes.
to the club where you were. That was really fun too.
Yes, you certified
A long time ago.
my coworkers, and then of course I think that was not my first certification, but I wasn't going to miss it. Like,
Yeah.
I think I was still trying to become a part of the Schwinn team. It's just in the area, is anyways.
Small.
I was like, do you know who's coming? Like Shannon Fable is coming to
It was so fun.
Everybody.
And it's similar to Julie. I'd known Julie from conferences too, and ended up in your club back in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which is not too terribly far from us. So Julie, are you on the line? Okay, I can. So she is also a Schwinn master trainer and a studio owner in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which is I mean, I'm not saying it's not super tiny, but it's a ski resort town. So it fluctuates. Very interesting business model. We can get into that later, but it's VimFit. You just went through a big rebranding, right? Because I have all your t-shirts and your water bottles. Mm-hmm. Holy cow. Mm-hmm. 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 Oh no, Julie, hold on one second. They're telling me they can't hear you.
I can't hear her. I didn't know if it was
Oh my
me.
gosh. I am so sorry. I knew you can't see her. Okay, shoot. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to talk to Robin and we are going to film a video, you and I. I'm going to post that secondarily with this because it is so interesting. She was just telling the story, Robin,
I'm so
and this makes me so sad. Technical glitches, but you know, you got to roll with the punches. So I appreciate you guys rolling with the punches. Stay on the phone though, Julie, and you can feed into my ear and I'll feed it out and we will film something. It's really interesting. I wanted to have these two gals on because Julie was just talking about how they've kind of lived parallel lives. They both started as instructors, did a million different things in the industry as far as, you know, what they did for their day-to-day jobs. Both have amazing, super supportive husbands that at first were kind of like, okay, interesting. And then as they got deeper into it, became their business partners just to a huge degree, right? And I've loved watching that because you guys know my story. My husband and I also owned a business together, and I appreciate they've walked a very similar pathway through this. And I remember when this whole COVID thing started happening, I was most concerned. I was concerned with everyone, but I got really concerned with my friends that wore a bunch of different hats in the fitness industry because all of a sudden they all shrunk at the same time. And they were things that fed them personally and professionally. And with these two gals, right, teaching feeds them personally and professionally. They both still teach a ton on their schedules.
Mhm.
They mentor people in their business and outside their business, both formally and informally. And all of a sudden, that was gone because that was always something they did live. They
Mhm.
were both master trainers traveling nearly every weekend to do conferences. And I think both of you were slated to have some part in fitness conferences
This
coming up, which was a new step or a new adventure for you this year. And then they're also business owners. So, not that I think we should be into like comparing and contrasting our stories about who's had it harder, but I immediately reached out to both of them and I'm like, how are you doing? Because it wasn't just like one area in their life that went down the wayside. It's like all of them. And
Yeah.
and Robin, I'm glad you're here with me today because when I first looked at like what you were posting on Facebook, I was sad because you were sad and you were very authentic and real with your journey.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about it. I've been talking about like the stop, drop, and roll, right? Like what happened first, and
Yeah.
then what did you start to think, and then we'll go to how did you overcome it. So tell me a little bit about the beginning of the story, like when this all started happening.
Well, I ironically, the last live Schwinn, I had a Schwinn training here, um, and a bar training. It was right the last time actually that people were in the building pretty much. And I could kind of see what was happening, of course, that before the trainings I had talked to Becky Muck and Trisha Madden, and they asked me if I was comfortable with the training, and I said absolutely. It's here in my studio, and so I could see what was coming, and thankfully they kind of were able to give me a heads up. And we had a emergency Zoom meeting on that Sunday night, which was March 15th. And I said I had the whole team on, my whole team, and I said this is what I think is likely to happen. It's really soon, and um, it wasn't. And I just wanted everybody to be ready. And by the next day, by noon, you know, it was pretty much everybody had canceled, people weren't coming in,
Mhm.
um, and it was all starting to hit here. And so and then we had our CDC mandates that, we weren't forced to close yet. Gyms weren't forced to close yet. However, we knew it was the right thing to do because obviously distancing and then 10 or less in a building. And, we have 4 studio rooms and a front desk. And so we closed our doors at 3 o'clock that day. And it was probably like the hardest thing. I'm not going to cry today. My husband's going to kill me if he sees me cry on Facebook Live. But the only reason that we were able to pivot so fast is because every single one of my team members that was able to come showed up within 30 minutes, and we sat in the lobby. And because it was hard for me to even think clearly that quickly, because this is fast moving. I mean, it's like one day we're operating one way, and by the next day we've got to change everything.
180, right?
180. So we were determined to get everybody. We didn't want to miss a beat. So we had to cancel our classes, obviously, but we were online by 5 a.m. Oh, I can't even see who said that, but thank you. I can't even, it just says Facebook user.
Yeah.
We
I
were
want to pause on that though.
online.
I want to ask you a question about it. And I know this isn't Group X Pro page, so I shouldn't go too far down the group fitness manager or business owner page or business owner route. But one of the things, like if I'm on the outside looking in about how you have stayed positive through this, a lot of it has been about how your team has risen to support you, right?
Absolutely.
And so I want to applaud them, but I want to take a step back and applaud you first, because you wouldn't have a team like that if you hadn't done the right thing over the last 7 years to create an amazing team that has your back. And I want you to speak to that just a little bit. And I know some of them are in the background. I wish they could come out and talk about what you've done in the past. And it's you as a person, but it's also you as a business owner, like the opportunities you've provided them. But I talk about how we put deposits into their bank accounts so that when we have to take something out, it doesn't feel so hard. So tell me a little bit about what you did prior to this that maybe you didn't even know that you were doing, but looking back retroactively, what have you done to set them up where they would show up in an emergency meeting on a Sunday and they were ready to pivot with you no matter what you asked the next day?
Oh, it's really hard
Tough
to
question.
say. I must have been doing something with their time here that built that level of trust. And I feel like I never asked them to do anything I wouldn't do myself. And I feel like over the last 7 years, and some of them are newer to Burn, the last couple of years, some of them have only been teaching a year, and they've literally had to become on camera rock stars overnight. So hard, and they are amazing. But I feel like one thing that I will always stand by is just a golden rule. I'm not going to treat them or ask them to do something that I would never do in turn myself. So I'm totally I'm in the trenches with them every single day. It's just something that I look at them as more of teammates. Than it's hard for me when they call me their boss, which I know I am, but not really. I mean, I don't run the studio from afar. I'm in it with them. And so I try to act on everything that they're going through day to day and try to make their life easier here. So, and I think maybe just the relationship that we built, that maybe they feel like I'm on their level every single day. It's not,
Sure.
I'm not just,
Well, and that's, yeah, you're not just an owner. I mean, for sure. And I think, so you guys know that are listening, I did not ask them to prepare 3 steps. I'm listening to their stories and I'm kind of feeding back to them what I think they've done that has allowed them to stay positive. And I'd say both of them also knowing how Julie interacts with her team. She's the same. She's in the trenches. And so I'd say my number one tip for you guys, what I see that Julie and Robin have done is they've surrounded themselves with what I call an army of empowerment. And during this time where you can feel super disconnected, and as business owners or solopreneurs, even, you can kind of go into your own dark hole and go, okay, it's harder to connect with people right now. I don't really know what they're going to do for me or what I can do for them. So I'm just going to do it all myself because it's easier. I don't know any other way. Both of them just completely bucked that trend. And I've seen a lot of people doing that, just kind of going inward, right? Because it's easier to count on yourself during this time than reach out and figure out how to stay connected. And so I'd say, like, number one way to stay positive for all groups out there, individuals that are running businesses, is surround yourself with an army of empowerment and figure out ways to stay connected, both personally and professionally. Because when you're having a crap day, I'm sure your team brings you up. And when one of them is having a really bad day on camera, you're the one that brings them up. So it's this nice ebb and flow. Would you agree? Something you feel like has helped you during this?
Absolutely. That is literally the only thing that is holding the glue together for us to bring energy. Because after we leave here, I'll be honest, it has not been easy. We have had bumps
Mhm.
with our team, and because no one knows what the heck to do. It's like we're having to reinvent our business model probably at least 15 times over the last 5 weeks,
Mhm.
and we have no process. No one knows what I need day to day unless I ask them. But then it's like, I don't know what I need either. And so communication is really key, but getting to see each other up here in a safe, clean
Mhm.
distance kind of way that is what is carrying me. And I know all of them because it's
Mhm.
very hard. It's very, very hard.
And it's tougher now. And I even realized that this week we're going into what, week 6. And I think I've been out of my house twice. I've done a lot of Zoom calls. I've done a lot of phone calls. I've stayed connected with people. But what I realized this week, and I was feeling very isolated because I realized I hadn't taken the time to figure out how to see people and safely socially distance. I'm relying on the easy way or the path of least resistance. And so taking a play from your playbook, so to speak, like really to like, okay, we need to have a happy hour in the driveway and stay 6 feet apart. And I need that. I need that. And that leads me to my second one. And I'm going to let you talk about this because you just explained it really perfectly. You've had to reinvent your business every day. Because like at first we're thinking this is short term.
Yeah.
So we decided, okay, I'm going to go on, I'm going to do live. And we were just talking before we got on, now live is actually becoming problematic because of music stuff. Even if you have the best of intentions, it's becoming hard. So you're having to rethink it again. And then when you think you're going to open up, and then it's going to be, no, it may be 2 weeks later. And then you start to hear the grumblings of, but maybe my people aren't going to come back anyway, instructors or my members. So what do I do? And I've got 2 points that I want you to talk about. One, I think as you were describing that, you talked about, man, it hasn't been easy. And I think what I've loved about watching your post is you have been so, I mean, brutally authentic.
Oh.
And but that's a good thing, right? Because I think a lot of times as owners and leaders in an industry of our family or wherever it is, we're like, okay, nope, got to put my big girl panties on and figure it out and not tell anyone that I'm hurting or anyone that this is stressing me out because I'm supposed to have the answers and they're looking to me. And so I go back to like step number one, you've surrounded yourself with this army of empowerment and you've got a great group around you. You put a lot into them so they're ready to pay back. That was the first thing that was able to keep you positive to go to step number two, which is I've got to reinvent my business all the time. It's not always easy. And when I'm feeling like crap, I'm not going to hide it because then you just can slide deeper and deeper in. So
Oh,
you're
yeah.
authentic, you tell them what's happening, and then hopefully they're having a good day so they can come back around. Tell me a little bit about that because you have had some.
Oh,
I've seen the happy, happy posts and I've seen the, oh my God, I just want to lay on the floor and cry posts. And they've
oh,
all been super authentic.
yeah. I would be lying if I didn't tell you that even like I've never really struggled with being down or depressed or sad,
Hmm.
like because fitness is kind of my outlet for it's just never something I've had to deal with before. And
Hmm.
so we as a team, we definitely when one is low, the other ones rise to the occasion. It's we were just talking about how it's like a symbiotic relationship. I don't know if that's the
Yeah.
word where
Yeah.
if one of us is like way down here, somebody else is coming in way over the top and they help pull that other person up. But it's been tough daily. I'm sad daily. It
Hmm.
but it's pulling myself up out of that. And sometimes I have total pity parties. Like yesterday, I was just like, and and I just threw my hands up in the air and just went and sat outside. And I'm like, I don't know what to do.
And that's okay.
Um, it's been sad. There's been a lot of personal things that I've had going on too with my own family, as everyone has, and that balance. There is no balance anymore, and it's hard. My daughter's was supposed to be getting married in a couple of weekends, and so there's
Hmm.
all of this like underlying sadness that it's hard to put that professional hat on and say, all right, I'm going to move. There's just no way you can hide it. I don't.
Right.
I couldn't if I tried, but
And don't you find, I mean, I continue, I mean, my number one way to try to stay positive, and I mean, every day is different for me, but is to try to find not even the silver lining, but the lessons we're learning that are going to make the future better. And I'd say like I mean, I've always admired how authentic you are. And when you come across on social media, it is Robin. It's the Robin I know, drinking a glass of wine,
Oh,
teaching a class, leading her village, right?
yeah.
And I think it's going to be a really good lesson that we've all had to learn, is that being vulnerable is okay. It doesn't make you weak. And sometimes it actually makes you stronger, because people can come and help you out of the pity party, so to speak. Or they can just say, all right, I'm here for you. I can't solve it for you, but I get it. And you know what I've instituted with my team, we have a Monday morning meeting, and we try really hard to say, okay, how is everyone?
Yeah.
Like, legitimately, how is everyone? Who's having a crappy day this week? And I think Jalen is on. Last week she was on the call and she's like, today's my day. Like, I'm not okay today. And we just listen. There's nothing we can do about it. I can't change that she's not having a great day, but at least we all know where she's coming from. So maybe the rest of the day we leave her alone, or we don't expect too much, but this vulnerable, I think that is a great way for us all to remain positive, is by being super authentic with one another, and pulling it back in. The last thing I heard you say about re defining your business every day, and you guys that know me know I say this all the time, like, publish and then iterate later. Get it out into the world and then edit it later. Don't wait for it to be perfect. And that's hard for someone like you or someone like me who are perfectionists, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes that leads to less than being positive. But again, a great silver lining of all of this is that we have had to learn that not being perfect is okay right now. And people are just super appreciative that it's there anyway. Talk to me a little bit about that, because we were just talking about, like, you're having to think of plan 32C after we get off the phone because you're having issues with Facebook.
It is literally, and that is, I feel like I'm in a constant. If this seems polished, if there's a day where something seems polished, please don't misunderstand, because let me tell you, it's like right now, like I'm always sweating. I feel like I'm in a stress response. I teach classes in my
Mhm.
sleep. My husband's like, you are not in cycling. Lay down. Like it's that's true. It's 100% truth. It's every single day we're having, because I know that this isn't going anywhere. Even when things return to somewhat of a normal place and we are able to safely open our doors, it's not going to be the way that it was for quite some.
Mm-mm.
And also, we've created this virtual amazing monster that no one ever knew they would love so much. Our members are begging us to keep it going. So we don't plan on stopping. So but with that is all of the we've never done this before, and so no one else has either. It's we've never had to survive completely online, and it's trying to figure out every day a problem comes up, and they're starting to get bigger and bigger, and it's like, okay, so now that we know this isn't temporary, let's do this. Okay, and now that we know this is going to happen another month, let's do this. Okay, it's going to be longer than a month. It might be for quite some time, and then the virtuals going to be around. It's going to be a part of our business model now. So we're every single day we're having to figure stuff out based on what happens with either what members are experiencing, what legalities, as you all know, with the music, that has been our biggest, latest obstacle, nightmare, if you will.
Mhm.
Even though we carry licensing, this is going to be a tough one, and really just figuring out, what permanent platform can we use, because obviously everybody's thinking temporarily with what they're doing, and we're trying to think far ahead, but it's hard
Mhm.
to stay ahead when I feel like sometimes it's 5 steps forward and then it's 88 steps back, you know?
Right. And that's, I mean, I keep hearing you come back to, you said communication earlier, and everything you just talked about stems around constant communication. Because one of the things that can take us all off the deep end and get us away from being our naturally positive self is this unknown, right? I think that's what everyone is really struggling with right now, is personally and professionally. It's a double whammy. We have no idea what next week looks like, or even tomorrow,
Or
or even, like, I was just talking to a friend, I live in Colorado, where the governor said one thing on a Monday or a Tuesday, and then by Friday local municipalities had changed their tune. And so if you can imagine, like, all these business owners that went out going, okay, we're going to open by Saturday, and then on Friday you get told, no, you're not. So, as a business owner, that's really challenging when the puck keeps moving, or the goal line keeps moving. And so you keep coming back to communication. I would imagine, and tell me if I'm wrong, but setting up that expectation with your staff. And these are things I think you can also parallel with your family, because I'm trying to do the same with my family. Some days are better than others, but you set up the expectation of, okay, there is a possibility that every day is going to be different. And this isn't typically how I like to lead, arrange, or organize, but we all have to appreciate that that's just the reality of the situation. That's the stake. It's like the only stake we can put down in the ground. Then step two is every day, the beginning of the day and the end of the day, we are going to say what we're planning to do today. We're going to reflect on it at night and decide if we're doing it again tomorrow or it's going to change.
Exactly.
And everyone's just going to be authentic. Go back to the authentic thing. Go back to being, is it okay? How are you feeling about that? How can I help you with how you're feeling about that? And be constantly willing to reassess the plan together. And that's tough as a leader, isn't it? Because usually people look to leaders to have the answer. So it goes back to you've surrounded yourself with a really great team that's okay with it.
Yeah.
And you're authentic with how you're feeling in the moment. So they don't feel like they're wrong for feeling the way they're feeling. Three, you keep doing something, learning from it, moving on. And encapsulating all of that, I'd say the overarching theme is communication, right? Communicating with them constantly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in fact, to be completely honest, there have been times where because I do fall into a dark hole sometimes. And
Mm,
it goes through stages, like the day that I had to decide we were going to send all of our bikes out the door and all of our equipment, looking at sending out these brand new bikes that we just got, and how much struggle it's taken to get. And I'm blessed that we have an online way of continuing. I feel my heart goes out to
mhm,
businesses that have no online platform. So please don't, I'm so grateful for what I'm able to do right now. At least it's something. But like it was so dark the day that I knew I was going to watch every single bike go out the door and then figure out how am I going to teach to a black shell. No one's there. And I literally texted my team. I couldn't get out of bed that morning. And I said, I know you're looking for me to lead you, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do
wow.
next. And I don't know if I can do this. And so, I had two team. Of course, my entire team has been amazing. This is just one instance, but I had two of my team members, Callie and Allie, who are very young, by the way, and this is new. They've been doing this maybe a year. They were like, okay, we've got our plan. Here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna get out of bed. You're gonna get up here. We've got coffee. We've got donuts. They had my gangster rap playing when I got in, my Suge, all the stuff I love to play in class, and they had it blaring. They're like, let's go. We're gonna wipe these bikes down one at a time. We're getting serial numbers. Get it together. And in that
Mhm.
moment, that was what I needed, because I have had many times where I do want to just throw my hands up in the air. That was a really dark, dark time that day, but the only way I got through it was them. So
Yeah.
there's times where I'm like, this is our plan. This is what we're going to do. And then there's other times where I'm like, I have no idea.
Yeah. And going back to it, you're super authentic. I want to hit on something you just said because I know a lot of the people watching are probably instructors, maybe not studio owners. So some of this, remember what I said. I think it parallels to your friendships, to your relationships, to personal and professional. But I want to hit on something you said because you're like, I'm in a dark room teaching to no one. And I know a lot of people on this live, we're going to get into the nitty gritty now. You're teaching to no one. Um, how do you stay positive when you're teaching to nobody? Because I know when I teach, it's about looking out and seeing people giving you something back. How do you stay positive when you're teaching? Because you're teaching a lot of classes online right now to nobody in a dark room. Like it's bad enough to like sit on a bike and pedal and not go anywhere. Now you ain't got nobody looking at you.
No, literally, I'm looking at white curtains and a card table. And I will tell you, it's right now with cycling. We've tried Zoom for some time, and that's cool. But I think Facebook has kind of been our way to get the best quality. It's been tough to learn how to teach to no one and stay motivated, but
Yeah.
seeing their comments and knowing when they say we're here, and you see the interaction, and I can't see maybe exactly who that is from a distance, but I
Hmm.
can at some point, and that is what, like today, I taught cycling this morning, and I closed my eyes and I thought, if I think I can feel you in this room, like I know you're not
Hmm.
9 of you riding with me right now. I can't see you, but I feel you here. And so I think just learning how to teach you, it's almost like I've had to learn how to teach again.
Relearn. Right.
Because it feels weird when you can't you're like, is this like, I don't know, it affects how you can deliver the class in the way you did before. But I think I'm getting used to it. I feel like each day that I get on that bike and just go, that I'm getting better at that connection. And we're
Yeah.
encouraging people to show up. Like, you might have had some replays, options and all of that. But what is going to keep us motivated for the long haul, you and us, is
Mhm.
we need you to be in a class live with us. And it may not always happen, but
Right.
knowing that.
Well, I love what you said. I mean, Facebook is great. And I would say this is a lesson for all of us, that when we are, because so many people are consuming these lives and these replays and these on demand services, know that anytime you can provide just a thumbs up, like now is the time to give all the praise in the world you can, instead of nitpicking what people are doing online. Again, whether personally or professionally. Just remember, not that we don't want feedback, but I think right now we would all love to know that people are out there, that they're receiving our message, and that they are getting something from it. Even if it's, oh, I didn't like that, I'm going to do it differently when I teach it, right? Whatever it may be, but be super positive. And I know I've said this in plenty of workshops I've given for. I actually keep something called a praise folder.
Oh, I like it.
It's This is the most interesting thing I hope you'll take away from this, and everyone should do it. It is not narcissistic, but when you are in a place where you are not getting interaction, or, for me, it started because I was always either filming stuff that was then getting played later, and I'd have to look at the reviews, which is terribly challenging because they exist forever on Amazon. Or I was at conferences getting real time feedback about how I was doing in comment cards. I was like, okay, I've got to remind myself that there's good stuff too, but a lot of stuff I let the negative overtake the good. So I started a praise folder, and anytime I would get a good comment card, a nice email, a text message, something on Facebook, and it's above the
Love,
good job, but it's like a really good feedback, shove it in there.
I love.
And what I would do before I go out on any big assignment is I take a step and I will read 3 to 5 of them to kind of just get my motivation back up. And that's my gift to you, Robin. Like, before you go in there and you teach, one, it's also about remembering the long game. There may only be 9 people live watching you right now, but think about, even if you have 27, 30 bikes in your studio, you can only affect 30 people at one time. But now with this new environment, think about the ripple effect of, okay, there's 9 people live, and then 37 people can watch it later, and 2 years later, 37 more. And this can last far beyond how long my roots last. Like, it's going to go on forever. But if you can have a praise folder,
I love
take
that.
screenshots. Yeah, it's really good.
I
So
love
that
it.
has helped me a ton. And if you guys want to give Robin some good shout outs here for her to take a picture of, that would be great.
I
Send them
can
to
only
us.
see Facebook user. I can't.
I know, me too. We don't know who they are right now. It's kind of weird. So put your name in the comment if you don't mind, real quick, because as we're watching this on Be Live, all we see is Facebook users, so we can't shout you back out personally, which kind of drives me crazy. Let's focus on that, the long game thing, because I think that's made it easier for me to stay positive when I finally realized that it was going to be a lot longer
Yeah,
than the 4 weeks that it originally was. Because 4 weeks feels like a little bit too long to think, a little bit too long to live in the moment, a little bit too short to really change strategy. And so I felt like I was in no man's land. And no man's land to me feels very paralyzing. Analysis by paralysis is why I call it. Well, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? And once it got extended past that 4 weeks, I started to realize, I said earlier, like, I've got to put a pin in it. I've got to put a pin somewhere and then just start deciding. How are you feeling now? Like, has what keeps you positive changed now that you know that this is a longer game than you originally, like, the work that you're doing now is going to be around for a while. Like, virtual is here to stay. I can imagine
for
that's
sure.
a positive. But talk a little bit about that.
It's kind of cool that people are discovering. There are things that even our members have said, if not for this crisis and us having to pivot in this way, they've learned some things about themselves with regards to what they need for class. And there's just been a lot of positive discoveries out there that have happened. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely like not a short game. I lost my train of thought.
Oh no, it's fine. I was
Get
reading
me
the
back on
messages.
track, Shannon. Help my
It's
brain tonight.
Well, yeah, it's long term, but I love what you started to say about I think you can gain positive from like I said, I think when people started doing virtual, they're like, "Oh, crap, I've gotta do it because I don't have any other way to be in
Right.
front of people, and they don't have any way to
Right.
get me." And it felt like a waste of time, so to
Oh,
speak, because
right.
nobody was does that make sense? Because not a lot of
Yeah.
people are using it long term, and now you're like, "Oh, no, all this work that I've been doing right now," like, 'cause
Yeah.
I can see clearly for you, it's gonna be a revenue stream well into the future. You live in Conway, Arkansas, a town of how many people? But there are a million other people that wanna get hold of Robin and Robin's classes and her team's classes, so now they can do that. And then second, all the feedback I know that I'm getting to see from, virtual classes, it's helping people redefine what their schedules are gonna be moving forward.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Like, people are getting really authentic about their feedback. Like, "I like this, I don't like this, I want more of that, don't need that, I could do this online, here's how you can simplify." Has that helped you stay
Oh,
because you're getting to build and create again.
well, here's the crazy thing that happened, that when we first put an online, the next morning we were like, okay, well, these are the times that they've been coming to in studio. We
Mhm.
literally we have no, everybody's schedule is changing also because their lives are changing, and their schedule
Mm,
isn't the same 2 weeks ago as it was 4 weeks ago as it is today. And so it is a continuous, we actually have to change our schedule weekly. And what they've told us, is like, we making live class times at the times that we used to isn't always possible, which, mad respect for people who are having to get on a bike in the middle of their living room and their kid walks in and
right,
throws up, or their dog walks in and throws up, or something like, to make that happen is, I'm not even in the same background. I have no distraction.
right.
I don't have anybody
Right,
logging.
it's your job.
It's my job. So
Right.
what we're trying to do is based on what they've told us, with that, we check in with them weekly. We beg for feedback. Um, we've we've made a schedule. We've got about 60 classes this week. It's gonna
Wow.
we're calling yeah. It's I'll be honest, I'm grateful for all the members that are still paying us, so I can pay
Yeah.
my people. Everything that comes in goes right back out the door to them, or to keep this
Mhm,
going. But
mhm.
we're trying to figure out, like, when they can, like, so they've got 60 options this week, and we're watching lives, like how many people are on each
That's
live,
amazing.
try to get an
Yeah,
idea, because we don't know what was, isn't, and won't be.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we're having to recreate not just the business model and how we deliver, and it is 4 times the work. I mean, it's quadruple the amount of work for what you don't know. It's very uncertain, but
mhm.
it's kind of like just nose to the grindstone. So this week we've offered them 60 live options. They
It's
have like
crazy.
20 replays, 20
Uh-huh.
replays that they can do if their kid walks in the room and pukes. Okay, so
Yeah,
you
yeah,
don't get to do class. So
yeah.
you've got these replays, but we're trying to bring them back into the magic. And I did a live yesterday to the members, telling them what our goals were this week. And I just said, let us try to recreate this magic for you, because that's what
Mhm.
makes that's what gets my feet on the floor in the morning, is
Right,
the experience. And let's get away from just, we're constantly replaying. Let's see
right.
what we can do to bring you into us live, knowing that you're in the room, I'm in the room. We've got the music, we're going to open the room up beforehand, so we've got time so you can hear us.
Mhm, mhm.
Got time, and then afterward we stay and chat for a minute before we take it down, because
Still had that community, yeah.
yeah, the
And I love someone said, "Holy cow." I mean, I wanna make sure to acknowledge the fact that what Robin is doing is above and beyond, and purpose of the call being, like, how has she remained positive enough even though you've heard, like, her story of ups and downs, like, how has she stayed positive enough to pull this off for the people? And what I hear you say, and I think this will be a great place to finish, because I think I've said it every week in a live. You are operating from a place of possibility, not panic. And I think in the beginning, we all operated from a place of panic, and that made the positive just go downhill, right? But when you start to see this as possibility, whether you're a business owner or you're an instructor and you go, okay, the possibility is I can become a better teacher by having to do it and not have an audience, or I can learn better ways to connect with people, or I can learn how to recreate magic while they're at home and learn about what they want from me. So when they come back, my studio's, stronger than ever. I think it's this fascination with possibility that allows people to remain positive. Where if you see it, I'm just got done reading Simon Sinek's new book, The Infinite Game. Is that what it's called?
I don't know.
If somebody's reading it, or someone can Google it real quick, I can't remember what the name of it is. It's on my iPad. But he talks about this infinite mindset versus this finite mindset. And I started reading it before this whole thing and I put it away. And when I came back to it with a fresh lens, this word of possibility kept coming back up to me as like this, treating everything as a long game, looking at everything you do as an experiment. There's something to be learned. None of it's wrong. I'm not getting anything wrong. I'm not letting anyone down. I'm just learning. And we're all going to be better for it on the other side. And I would say to me, and I know we went way past 3 ways to stay positive, and I think I threw out like 72 based on what Robin was saying. But if we could sum it all up, surround yourself with an army of empowerment, right? And as long as you're authentic with those people that you surround yourselves with, they can pick you up when you're feeling down. You don't always have to be the strong one. You don't always have to be the one that understands. None of us understands what's going on or how to make it work. I just did a webinar Friday night where every question that I got asked, I'm like, this is my best guess. I'm just going to be real honest with you. I have no idea. We've never had to live through this before. I don't know how you teach with a mask on. I don't think you do. And then the second piece uh, being, looking at this as the long game, and this idea of you've got to stay constantly in communication with people personally, professionally, tell them how you're feeling. That goes back to the authenticity, but communicating with people more so now than you ever have before, and being very clear with your communication and establishing a cadence that allows you to get in front of things rather than behind things. And then finally, just finishing up with, possibility, just fascination with the possibility of what's to come from this whole craziness. And I watch people like you and Julie, who again, she stayed on this whole entire time. And God, I want to do this whole thing again with Julie, because I know she has such a similar story, and it's neat to see 2 people doing things so similarly from such different places. And I know she would echo that sentiment, that this whole concept of possibility and treating things with the infinite game versus the finite game is a true way to stay positive. Any last parting words, anything you do daily that helps you stay positive? And let's think about it less from a studio owner and more from you, Robin, being a great instructor yourself, and a mom and a wife and a business partner. What do you do daily? Take care of yourself. Just stay positive.
Well, I will be honest also that my self-care isn't the strongest right now. And it's like you can be really great at one thing, but right now it's like I'm not really the best mom and wife that I can be right now, but I also know that I'm being the best that I can be for here. And that's what I have to do right now. And my family does understand that. It's been really tough though. I mean, if this is not like the quarantine, bonding puzzles experience that a lot of families are having. And if you're having that, that's amazing. Like, you shouldn't feel bad about that. But, everybody's in the same boat. We're just not weathering the same storm. So we just have to get through our own storms, because it will end. And I think that's the one thing that keeps me going, is that knowing that although this business model that I'm creating won't go away, this storm will. It's going to have to end.
Yeah.
It can't be dark forever. So eventually it's going to stop raining, and eventually we're going to figure out a way to exist here and then also have our lives back, our family back. I won't be going home stressed out and crying, and then I'm happy, and then I'm putting out a fire, and then I'm like,
right. Yeah.
That, and Julie, my heart is breaking for Julie. Because we were on a FaceTime last night, and this is like Julie Gatormson literally she is amazing. The year I opened Burn, she had already opened her studio, I think a year before. And I was like in that horrible place where it was like, oh my God, I had not anticipated the intensity of this. And she's like, don't worry, don't sweat it. You're going to, and that was back when I first started on the Schwinn team. And that's when we met, was at a conference in Chicago, Mania. I think it was, what's the Mania in Chicago? I can't remember.
Midwest. Yeah.
And so that's when I hit it off with Julie, and my heart, because like we were dying, we're fangirl dying over Shannon. Like, and we're like,
you guys are silly.
We had our wine. We're like, should we practice? And our husbands were like, oh my God.
Oh, it's so cute.
But breaking for her.
I know, Julie, thank you for hanging in there. You never know what's going to happen with technology, but I love that you're being, again, authenticity is like your number one thing. And you're like, I'm not being a great wife and a great mom right now. But I want to go back to it. I think the same three things appear on your personal side as they do on your professional side. You've put enough into your family's bucket before, and you're communicating with them enough and being as authentic as you possibly do, wherever everyone's giving you a pass. And I think I've said on almost every single live I've done, like, if there's one thing we all can do to help each other stay positive, it's give a little bit of grace and space and trust that we are all just doing our best.
Yeah.
And that's all we can be doing right now, right? So I appreciate, this has been such a great conversation, and I want to replay it on Group X Pro because it's such a good conversation for group fitness managers to listen to, and club owners and general managers just, during this time. So if you're on and you're an instructor, want to tag your group fitness manager or someone that is in charge of your space back at your club or your studio, they would probably get a lot out of it. And connect with Robin. I know she's also so free with her time and open to helping other studio owners.
Oh
Even,
yeah.
I mean, like, you just took out an hour to do this for me, and you are, I can't pay you to do it. So I appreciate you so much
Oh,
sharing your journey with everyone. And Julie, we love you. Mwah. We'll do a little video with you so you can tell everyone your story too. But if you guys want to connect with Robin, put your information down in the comments, and when we get off, we'll connect back with you. And I wish you the best of luck, Robin. It's been great talking to you.
oh, thank you. It's been a true honor. True honor.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. I should know what I'm talking about next week. And I don't think Jess is on. She's my brain. Liz, if you're on and you're my brain, or Jalen, if you know, let me know. But we have another one next Monday, and this Friday on the Group X Pro page, we are talking about communication conundrums. My favorite conversation, how to be a better communicator with your team during crisis. And Kimberly Spreen Glick is going to be on very, very soon. Alex Isley, we texted this weekend trying to think of some great conversations we could have on here. So stay tuned. We will be back as long as this is happening. We will go live every Monday. I will get dressed for you. So you're welcome. All right. We'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys.